Hey everyone, welcome back to She Blurbs podcast. Today's guest is Doug. Hi Doug. Thank you so much for being a guest
Hey,
today on my podcast.
thanks for having me, Brook. Glad to be here. Glad I'm
So,
not in Kentucky.
oh yeah. Well, isn't Canada like snowy up
Oh,
there too?
well, just north of you in Manitoba, I was there for 10 years. Let me tell you, that gets cold.
Oh man.
It's minus 30 Celsius and Fahrenheit. It's cool.
Oh man. Wow. So can you tell our listeners how you came up with the second wind body science name
Well,
and
I like the idea of a second wind because I was never really the top dog, but I always admire the people. Well, when the military, especially the paratroopers or kickboxing, marathon, it's you think you're done, but we all have that second comes back. You just come back with that extra. So I always liked that because it always to me that's when you engage the mental, the physical, the spiritual, and
Mhm.
we always people think that I've heard people says I'm done, and no, you're not. The recruits, and I remember one guy falling down, and he goes, I said, "What's wrong with that guy?" And he's lying there, and he goes, I'm weak and pathetic. And I go, "Well, you're gonna have a broken rib cage too if you don't stand up." And he jumps up and goes running like
Yeah.
a fiend. There,
that's what
ever.
that's what that was in when you was in the military.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Ah.
but I said, "Don't ever hear. I want to hear that again." He goes, "Oh yes, Sergeant," and he was fine. But he in his
Oh my.
mind, and I had another guy, he says, "Sergeant," I go, "What is it?" He's like, "I can't breathe." And we got a bunch of load on our back. We're marching along, and he says, "I can't breathe." And, what do you mean you can't breathe? And he goes, "Well, I can't breathe." And I go, "Really?" And so we had a conversation for a while, and talked about where he came from and all that. And I go, "Look back there. You just walked a mile." And I go, "And you've been talking to me for the last 10 minutes." He goes, "Yeah." So what does that tell you? Well, feels like I can't breathe. Well, it doesn't. You know, oh, really? Yes, really.
So do you still talk to anybody from your old, like, I guess it would be platoon? Is that what y'all call it? I think.
Yeah, well, the courses, regiment, for yeah. You know what? You're absolutely right. There's a tight group of us that we served overseas. There's another tight group of the paratroopers because we were tight knit. So yeah, I always keep in touch. I always
Oh.
it's I haven't seen some of these guys for 10 years at a time, and just you get a hold of them, and what are you doing? Hey, yeah, and then right back to day one. It's just hilarious.
So what inspired you to become like into fitness and help others with their fitness goals?
Well, yeah, I was one of these underweight kids.
Hmm.
I was sick. I had pneumonia 3 times. Time I was 6,
Oh
and
wow.
yeah, I just one thing after that. A lot of adults smoked back then, and yeah, teenager man, I was like 98 pounds for the longest time, and 116, and I had to keep dealt a lot of bullying, and it wasn't the internet stuff. It was bleeding nose
Bad
and bloody
bullying.
lips and knocked around, choked, and various other degradations. So, uh, but I found when I started exercising more, I got more confident,
Hmm.
and then I joined the military, kind of to escape my hometown more than anything. And I remember reading up, studying, and I eventually put on as I got stronger, I had more confidence. So I went from like a desk job to being
Hmm.
a field soldier, and then I became a paratrooper, which to me was back then that was kind of the cool thing. We didn't like, wow, yeah, and yeah, and then I got my butt kicked. As a young man, you get aggressive. I got my butt kicked one night in a bar, and so I took up kickboxing. I was determined never to lose again. So I found later on it helped me because you you get some confidence not just from beating people up, say, hey, I can do this. And I remember
Hmm.
going to hypnotherapists because I had this fear, lack of confidence for a lot of things. And I remember going to university, and that first day I saw all these people read in textbooks. I can't do this, and I backed out.
Hmm.
And later on, the martial arts, the fitness, and I started thinking, well, yeah, I can do these things. So then I went to university, but yeah, I started teaching fitness, and I remember just doing kind of an aerobics class, and I did kickboxing aerobics, and then and then I just did women's classes, and they were saying, "Well, here, teach us." Like, well, I get, it's a lot of broken noses and stuff. No, no, no. We want And I remember demonstrating. I go, you understand now, bap, and like, they, oh, I'm sorry. Okay, so it went on like this, and one day it was hilarious because I this one gal, Leanne, I really liked her. She was kind of my sidekick there, and I remember one time she says, oh yeah, I was with my boyfriend, and he got in a fight with his brother, and his brother had him against the wall, choking him. So I stepped in, I uppercut him in the ribs, and down he went. Like, yeah, my girl. And she says, yeah, she says, yeah, but my boyfriend's mother won't talk to me anymore. And I go, okay, well, it's, so
That's fun.
it was fun seeing that because I was embarrassed at first instructing women because I didn't know how to start. I don't, and, but it was so fun because they were so appreciative and very, very coordinated, graceful. And
Mhm.
later on, I had another instructor. He would send me his kickboxers to train with the women so they get the footwork. And
Oh.
they're like, oh, I'm not doing. Oh, yes, you are. And we do the aerobics, and they did learn footwork. They learn more because there's a very hard male side, but there's also the graceful, fluid side, and you see that in the professional. Jack, what's his name? Was Sugar Ray Robinson used to dance and then became a boxer. And
Mhm.
James Cagney, an old time actor, he used to box and then he became a dancer, and it ties in with this coordination. So I don't know if that answers your question, but that's how I kind of got to where I was, and I thought, well, I can't teach these people, and yeah, they asked, so you can, you have something to offer. I found later on, and I volunteer with kids, and then I got into teaching seniors, and I went to some schools and taught, and it was fun because you don't think just because you're not you know a champion or the world's best, you still have something to pass on to other people because they don't understand
Like,
certain concepts. So that's where I got into teaching. that's the
that's true. That's good though, because when I was in my earlier 20s, then I was trained self defense by ex Navy SEAL, but he was like way older. Like, and he taught us how to defend ourselves to a guy like 4 times our size. And I'm like, oh, okay, I can do this. He's like, yeah, you can do this. And I'm like, okay. So yeah, you're right though. You're right.
well, yeah, and it's interesting because I competed in Hong Kong, and I remember seeing these little gals. Man, they're like 100, just like that, and like okay, and I'm
Yeah,
watching, and I'm thinking they're getting chopped up, and they were just boom, boom, boom.
get them. Yeah.
Gosh. And I met this really cool after my match, a little beat up because they wear just bag gloves. They don't wear like boxing gloves there, right?
Oh.
So it hurts a lot more. But I remember meeting this kung fu instructor, and she ran her own herb shop, and she ran this clinic, and she was hard as nails, man. Beautiful woman. But she brought me in there, and she hit a few points, put some on me in. But I looked her up later on, and she used to like almost bare knuckle fight. Like she was hard, but beautiful lady, very nice, and ran a good business, just really nice people. And I was just amazed at that, watching these things. But you're absolutely right. You don't want that false confidence. The same token, if you have to turn it on, I mean, you can turn it on. It's within all of us. We just we just quashed it over the centuries, I think, or the way you've been brought up, maybe you've been taught certain things. But let's face it, we get in a situation like if someone bothered my daughter, forget it, all games, it just you don't even think about it. I saw a pit bull one time, and the pit bull would look at me, and I looked like, well, not now. And I looked at my daughter, and he kind of looked at me like, yeah, you're right. Maybe I'll come back when you're alone. And I'm fantasizing. No, it was just you get this the different feeling. So it's
Mhm.
um, I just find we can bring it out when we have to. We don't have to be mean or nasty
Mhm.
or bullies or whatever. But the average person can build
Yeah.
themselves up and do things when they normally can't think they can
Oh,
do.
that's true.
Yeah,
So, can you tell our listeners what inspired your new a book after COVID?
yeah. I flat got after COVID. It's funny. Um, I just thought about that. I ran into a friend of mine, a lawyer, and she'd put on like 30 pounds, and we went for tea and we're chatting about it. And I was like, yeah, these pandemic pounds and these people with the lockdown. So I wrote it. I wrote about just fitness in general, how we can get back in the saddle, like
Mhm.
series of mini exercises. Oh, here we go. I just did a dip. I got another night, but and it's a series because what we got us into this situation, we can get ourselves out.
Mhm.
And I thought of all the things I've used to overcome procrastination. And the big thing that this depression thing came on, and it was interesting. I was reading about everything from all sorts of health problems people are having. There's a study in Iraq,
Yeah.
and when this guy was having, he was an older guy, he was having all sorts of bathroom issues and that. But when he joined up with friends, they played some sports, and within a week, his physical ailments went away.
What? Really?
And that was just socializing and exercising.
I did not know it worked like that at all. Like it was just exercising and socializing. So he didn't like incorporate any food in there, like healthy meals or
Well, you know
vegetables
what?
or.
I can't tell. Good point. No, that's a very good point. And I have to admit, personally, I'd rather share a beer and a hot dog in good company with
True.
friends than being a gourmet meal with a bunch of people I don't like. Well, so there's something to be said for that. But you're right that the diet and that comes in. But I have to admit, um, just a couple beer with good friends and a few laughs,
Hmm.
I feel great. I went to I know an acupuncturist, and he's pretty on the level guy. He's a martial artist too, and we were just joking around, laughing about stuff. And then I went and talked to my friends, and they were talking about almost the same thing that this guy was talking about. They had a certain run in part of town, and it was hilarious. I just next day I just felt way better, and yeah, it was a combination of things.
Hmm.
But I really think I found that with people's attitude. I mean, one of the best times I had in the army when we hadn't eaten for 30 hours or slept, and we're in the back of this
Wow.
truck soaking wet, freezing, and one of
Uh-huh.
the guys, the driver, and he goes, "Yeah, Sam's a driver. Yeah, Sam's a driver. Well, Sam never goes anywhere without a beer. Well, get that soda." And so he went up and he threatened to beat Sam. He comes back with a beer and an apple, and we're all passing around the beer and the apple, and that was I'll never forget that. That was the best meal and best drink I've ever had in my life.
Wow. How long was you in the military for?
I was in the rank force for 4 years, and I went Army Reserve for about 20.
20?
Like I'd
Oh,
work
wow.
and I go on contracts. I work back and forth, very non-committal. But I
Oh,
had a lot of fun. I worked a lot of weekends, nights, so I was always
oh,
involved with them. It was always part of my life.
yeah.
Um, but it was I think a lot of fun. Really good solid people, good solid friends. Um,
That's good. That's good. Did you you say you do still keep up with some of the people?
yeah. We unfortunately I lost a friend a few weeks ago, and so because of COVID, things are moving so slow. So I said, you know what? I don't care. Two or three of us are going to meet in the park,
Hmm.
say a few we'll say a few words, and then another guy passed on. So I said, okay, we're gonna meet for Terry and Larry, and we're just gonna
Wow.
just I don't care. And he said, well, do we need permission from City Hall? Don't care. Let's just and before you know, like 30 people showed up, and
Wow.
we had a big circle. And okay, we space out guys, and we all told stories, and it was good because you need that a living needs that kind of closure.
Hmm.
And I talked to his daughter in Winnipeg, one of the guys, and I've got there's a fund, some money's gonna be donated under one of theirs, Larry's name, and but it was good for the guys to get together, and of course you see the old friends, and that was a heck of a way to meet. I wish we go to
That's it.
weddings instead or something, but uh, yeah,
Are
that was good.
are y'all still like on like restrictions up there?
Yeah, we're not too bad. It's where I am. I'm near Vancouver. It's pretty open. Like all the parks are open. I go. The only restriction is movies and restaurants, and we have
Oh.
the vaccination proof But you can go to a lot of places, takeout. Like me and my daughter go there. We just eat in the car. She doesn't care. It's fun.
That's cool. That's cool. So you mentioned detoxifying in your new book.
Yeah, detoxifying.
How?
Sorry.
Oh, you can go ahead.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of ways, that some of the I've done extreme, well, not extreme. I've not eaten for a day, 2 days, and you sit in the sauna a lot. You have a lot of time for yourself.
Mhm.
What I find what works good is you just go vegetarian for a day. Maybe just eat a lot of salads and soup. Some people they brag about intermittent fasting, and
Mhm.
that's just called being too busy and forget to eat. Where I'm concerned, well, they brag. They go, "I'm intermittent fasting." Yeah, I skipped breakfast
Man.
and lunch this morning because I was busy. I was stupid. I
That
find
sounds
that.
like me when I don't have money for food.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, try that
Right,
one.
eat soup. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Eat
try
noodles
oatmeal.
and soup. Yeah, and oatmeal.
Yeah. Oh, oatmeal. God bless. Oatmeal, bean sprouts, and brown
Yep,
rice. God bless it. Got me
yep,
old.
yeah. It's cheap. It's not like 50 cents. It depends on where you live. It's cheap.
I used to go when times I used to go to the ethnic part of town. When I was in Winnipeg, I'd go to the Filipino part of town. In
Mhm.
Vancouver, I'd go to Chinatown. And everything's cheap and fresh there.
Oh, well, sorry about that.
Okay.
My dog is like chewing on something she's not supposed to be
Oh,
chewing
okay.
on, and I'm like, stop.
I thought I said
But
something wrong.
no,
Don't
no, no,
mention
you
don't mention cheap food ever again. Okay. But
no, no, you can finish. Sorry.
okay, but yeah, it's interesting too. I was reading a book about running, and one thing they recommend is eat like you're poor. It's a lot
Oh,
of
yep.
carbohydrates, and I have to admit some of the fittest times I were when I was scraping by financially because I just was very careful what I ate. Um, but that's getting back to the cleanse, the detoxifying. If
Mhm.
you eat just plain, you don't have to starve yourself. This is it. Like you don't have to give up. Everyone thinks it's going to be giving up everything you like, and all you can
Mhm.
do is maybe you cut back dairy. Well, drink some
Vegan.
almond milk, right? You can cut back your. The big thing is white flour because a lot of
Yeah.
people
Oh,
have allergic reactions to that. So, uh, okay, well, I had a pizza the other day. It was made out of cauliflower crust. Wasn't a big deal. Wasn't a big hardship. I cut out. Cut out dairy, high protein meat,
yeah.
and white flour. It's not a big deal,
Right.
really. I can eat vegetarian. I can eat a bit of fish. I eat lots of hummus, and it's interesting too because a lot of religions like Christian, we always when I was brought up as Catholic, weren't supposed to eat
Mhm.
meat on Fridays. It's
Oh.
okay, and sometimes you skip breakfast and had a brunch on Sundays. So you're in essence you were kind of intermittent fasting.
Mhm.
Like and so yeah, you can just go eat light. You don't have to stop eating altogether. And then I love the saunas or give
Mhm.
yourself an Epsom salt bath, nice hot bath. And the other thing too is then again mentally, I turn off the phone. I've done that
Mhm.
before. I've gone hiking for a day, get
Oh,
outside.
wow.
Oh, my buddy of mine, he goes hiking. He says, yeah, we're back in a day or out 5 hours, whatever. Good enough, thanks. Just turn it off.
Yeah.
And the world
Oh,
never stopped.
I do have a quick question to ask you. So, what would you replace for bread? Like, I know white bread is not good for you because it has a lot of sugar in it.
Oh
And
yeah.
I tried wheat bread, but I don't know if wheat bread is good for you as well.
No, it's really if you look at the glycemic index,
Hmm.
where 100 is the worst, it's right up there. It's in the 90s to 100. You know
Wow.
what? Rye bread's not bad. You go into a kamut and spelt. They're a
Hmm.
different. It's a kind of an older type of grain.
Hmm.
It doesn't taste as good, but any of the dark breads, the Russian black bread,
Hmm.
those are better. They're hard to deal
Oh,
with, but they're better. They take longer to digest. They have more nutrients in them, more fiber.
huh.
So,
It's just better for you though than
oh,
white bread.
definitely. I've been to Germany and they have this heavy rye, and this stuff's it's dense. and you
Mhm.
bite off a bean, you're chewing and chewing and chewing. And I'm exaggerating a bit, but it takes much longer to eat, and it's more filling. So yeah, it is better. I try to cut out the bread. It took me a while. I still go. I like my croissants sometimes with avocado and eggs, and but yeah, I try to cut. Just like I said, try to substitute. Just do something else. Like
Yeah.
rice bread's not bad, but again, it has that high glycemic index.
Yeah.
The more you have fiber in it, the more you have the natural state, the
Mhm.
slower it enters your body, the more nutrition it has. So, uh,
Oh,
yeah.
okay. I'm learning a lot from this interview because I did not know that much about bread.
Oh,
Because I thought that I could replace white bread with wheat bread. So that's why I've been eating wheat bread and I hate wheat bread. So I'm like, I need something else to eat.
yeah. Try. Well, you're going a smart way because a lot of people go cold turkey. If you gradually, like I read an interview by a fruitarian. He said, yeah, he went from ordinary food to kosher food to um, pesco vegetarian to full vegetarian, and eventually now he just eats fruit, or so he claims, fruit and sprouts. But I like a good dark, get a good heavy rye bread, and look at the ingredients. If you see, it says coarse rye, because a lot of
Mhm.
times it says enriched white flour and a little bit of rye. So if you get something, like I said, get something kamut, Kamut, or spelt bread. It's a different, it's more ancient grain. It hasn't been
Mhm.
um, modified like what we eat nowadays. Is more. I think it's called sorghum and semolina. It's a different type. There's about 7 different types of wheat grain.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and these are better. And when I go up north, Yukon, they have a lot of sourdough, and a lot of people
Mhm.
make their own, and it's total difference. I noticed it's
Oh, okay.
yeah, it's much more flavor to it, and it
Wow. So
yeah.
is sourdough good for you? Because
Oh yeah, well
I don't like
yes,
the smell of it.
yeah, I know it takes a bit of, but sourdough, it has that it has the beneficial bacteria in it, right? For the
Gotcha.
yeah, and that's fascinating too. If you ever want to read up on how much the gut affects the mood,
Okay.
because the serotonin. I'm on a roll here. Sorry, something. Serotonin is 90% in the stomach,
Uh-huh.
whereas if you take a lot of the medication, it inhibits the what they call a serotonin uptake inhibitor. Well, there's only about 5-10% going in the brain. A lot of it's to the stomach, and if your body has enough friendly bacteria, the stomach calms down, sends a signal to the brain, and the brain calms down. I've actually
Oh.
read, yeah, I read studies of I don't know how you read anxious mice, anxious mice, and the mice with the beneficial bacteria, they calm
Mhm.
down right away.
Oh,
Yeah, so it's quite fascinating. Even a little bit of sauerkraut a day will help you.
sauerkraut. I'm so picky with my
Plain
food, but
yogurt, then plain yogurt.
yeah, I eat
Sambuca,
unhealthy food.
not sambuca. What's the kombucha is the other one. Um, Kimchi. I like the plain yogurt sometimes, even though I'm allergic to milk. I'll just have some good straight up and kefir. A friend of mine showed me how to make kefir,
Oh.
kefir, something like that. But it's fermented milk. But
Oh.
it's like almost like a whey drink. But and now
Oh. Okay.
yeah, they got this kombucha now. This it's a tea. Basically, it's fermented tea,
Hmm.
and that one
Oh.
works good too. Yeah, it's got its benefit. I know cold sores go away when I drink it. So
Oh, okay. And what's that tea called again?
it's called kombucha. They sell it in a lot of stores now. It's different. It's basically I made it from black tea, and you have to add a this is kind of weird. You've got it's type of mushroom, and it's called a SCOBY. It looks
Hmm.
kind of gross, but what happens is SCOBY will separate, and so you take the top one off. It looks like a big white hockey puck, and you take the top one off, and you wash it off. And you start another batch, and
Oh,
it's
okay.
really cool. Once you get it going, it's really neat. But you have to be there. If you keep it too long, it kind of goes bad. And then you have to start all over. But
that ain't bad. I'm gonna try that.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
gonna
Look
try
it up.
that.
It's easy to make. It's simple. Get that SCOBY. You cook up some black tea, and I add a little ginger, and I add some other herbs sometimes.
You're like a circle that floats around me, keeping me safe and sound. And when I fall